So this sees Ricky Gervais as the lead character called Tony. He works on a local newspaper, which it's not struggling, but it's not exactly breaking news, I guess. And he sadly lost his wife, Lisa, played by the wonderful Kerry Godliman, to cancer earlier in the year. And he is struggling to come to terms with the loss of his wife. And, you see throughout the series that he contemplates suicide a lot. In the style of Ricky Gervais, it's very risky. It's very, at parts it's very funny, and at parts it's very, very tragic. I've seen all 6, and I think, to be honest, it's best to do it in the way that I did it, which was just sit down and binge it for 3 hours. They're between 20 and half an hour episodes each, and I think the best way to watch it is all in one.
If you're watching this, then I'm not around anymore. But don't spiral, don't obsess. Keep going.
So how are you?
A good day is when I don't go around wanting to shoot random strangers in the face and then turn the gun on myself.
Bad then.
Stay active. It's not ideal to be a fat, lazy, self-pitying lump.
Pedo!
What?
Pedo!
I'm not a pedo. And if I was, you'd be safe, you tubby little ginger.
You know how grumpy you get when things don't go your way. You've got such a good heart. You're born like it. You're just decent.
This is Sandy.
If you could show her the ropes, tell her what's what.
Humanity is a plague. We're a disgusting, selfish parasite, and the world would be a better place without us. Is that the sort of thing you meant?
I have to say, I am a huge Ricky Gervais fan. As I've said before, I picked The Office, and I like all of his other stuff as well. There's the bittersweet sitcoms like Derek. So I watched Afterlife, not really knowing what it was going to be about, which maybe that I should have actually read what it was going to be about first. I found it tricky to watch, I'm not going to lie. There's times which are really harrowing, and you see Tony attempt to take his own life, which is never ever easy to watch. If you are suffering from issues like that, seek help with it, because this is what the show is about. It's about talking to friends, talking to professionals, and getting some help. In terms of if I enjoyed it or not, I think I wasn't laughing that much. There were some really funny moments, especially with the ginger kid at school. I think everyone knows that one trailer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know I didn't find it as funny, but I couldn't stop watching it, so maybe I was gripped by it. It was a tricky one, but I don't know. I was interested to find out what you guys thought about it, actually.
Well, see, I have a similar relationship with Gervais. I love The Office. I love Dexter's. I didn't love Derek. I thought that pushed things a bit too far.
And Life's Too Short you weren't a fan of.
Oh yeah, Life's Too Short. I didn't really understand why Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant had to place themselves in that, because it was, at the heart of it, Warwick Davis's show. But this is his first TV thing in 6 years, and I have to admit, I only watched the first 3 episodes. I wasn't invested, and I was hit emotionally by the Kerry Godliman stuff. I thought she does a superb job with a very tricky role, and there wasn't a part of me that didn't believe and feel empathy with what she was able to do. But I just found it a bit disconnected. I think a lot of it was just vignettes of him meeting these people and bringing them down a peg. The first episode he met Joe Wilkinson's postman and had a bit of a row with him, and then he met him again in the second one. And so he seemed to go around meeting these people and sort of taking them down, and it didn't really hang together very well for me. I also think that Ricky Gervais, because he's so exposed on Twitter nowadays, you sort of know his viewpoints and things, and I just thought that this was another way of getting his views across, because I've heard him in the past talk about how he's irritated by loud people cheering in a restaurant, and how he doesn't like people being rude, and how being older has allowed him to sort of get away with saying more. I found some of the language a bit unnecessary. I'm not a prude, but sometimes it grated on me the amount of words he was able to use, which Netflix don't really curtail or tell him not to use. I don't know, I wanted to really like it because I am a Gervais fan, but I didn't feel emotionally connected to Tony as a character. I did enjoy the scenes between him and David Bradley, who plays his father, and him and Penelope Wilton, who is this widow who he meets at the graveyard.
I had a horrible feeling she would turn out to be a ghost, but thankfully she didn't.
No, you're thinking of Ghost Town. That's a film we did a few years ago.
With Greg Kinnear, yeah.
I've seen a lot of people saying it's the best thing he's done, possibly ever, and I perhaps should have watched all 6 to get an idea of that. But I don't like this idea that you have to watch all 6, because if you feel like that, you make it a film. You know, don't make it an episodic TV series. Make it a film that we have to sit through the whole thing rather than little half hours. But what did you think, Matt?
I felt I had to sit through all 6.
No, that's good. I wish I
just
could
to
have.
To sort, experience it all and just have that opinion of the thing as a whole. I wasn't as massively into The Office as everyone else. I quite liked extras. My favourite thing he's done is actually the film Cemetery Junction. I think there's probably a boat of one there. Yeah,
plenty of room for you to move around in the boat.
Exactly. I found this very sort of tonally imbalanced. That's where I'm sitting on this. Yeah. It goes from the scenes of, he's working at this local free paper and going to interview these people who, the baby who looks like Hitler and the woman who's made rice pudding out of her breast milk, things like that, to a scene where someone's died of a heroin overdose. Again, I agree with you about Kerry Godliman. Those scenes where he's watching the videos of her are probably the most powerful. It felt very sort of formulaic to me as well. Every episode you'd have a scene with him and Penelope Wilton, him at the office, him at the home with David Bradley. I thought the supporting cast were tremendous, though. That for me was the main strength of this. I really liked, as you said, David Bradley. Roisin Connerty, actually, I thought was very good, even though she had quite a small role in this. It's not something sort of mind-blowing and revolutionary like people are saying on Twitter. And one thing as well, I don't see where Tony always seems to have loads and loads of money in his wallet, and I'm not quite sure why, because he works on the local paper. Maybe I shouldn't have been focusing on that, but that was one. That was
maybe
something.
You went too deep.
He's going around buying all these drugs and paying Roisin Connerty £50 to clean his house and things like that. And you see his wallet and it's always full of £20 notes, and that really sort of fascinated me. And also, a lot of people seem to have been drawn to the dog for some reason as well. I saw a lot of tweets yesterday of people just sort of watching it with their dogs, which seemed a bit weird. But there you go.
Helen, while I was watching this, because you do your Netflix podcast as well, there aren't many shows on Netflix, and this would fall into the category that you'd want to revisit, are there? Once you've done them, you've sort of done them. Yeah. What do you think about whether you'd ever rewatch this or anything else on Netflix, really?
I don't think I'd rewatch it again, and it's purely because I know you've just said about watching all 6 episodes, but for me I needed to see how it ended, because you need that kind of closure at the end of it. So yeah, I don't think I'd sit down and watch all 6 again, because it is quite draining. It is quite
that last episode as well is where he sort of packed all the sentimentality into it, which felt a bit cloying after 5 episodes of being quite sort of sarcastic and things like that. And it's, I've turned my life around. Now I like everybody.
Well, that's it as well, because Ricky, he does emotional so well. We've all cried at The Office. I know Derek has mixed reviews, but I personally couldn't stop crying at some of the scenes in the care home. This, I didn't once cry at it. I didn't once get kind of emotional about it. I didn't have that instant reaction. And I think it is because of the tone of it, because you don't know whether you're going to get a comedy scene or you're going to get potentially Tony taking his own life scene next. You just don't know what's coming, and you can't. I couldn't relax into it, I don't think.
No. I think the only sort of emotional gravitas I thought the scenes that it had that in with the scenes with Penelope Wilton, I thought she brought that sort of emotion to it. The scenes where she was with him, actually, I thought were the most emotional for me personally.